This is really surreal. I've been thinking about recording this update video for like over a year. It's done. The course is done. EFLA, Equipped for Life Academy, is done. It's finished. It's launched. You can get it right now. You can get it right now. You can go to I can't believe this is real. You can go to equippedforlifeacademy.com right now, and you can see this course that we've been working on for years. We designed this so that it would work with religious high schools. You know, it was written by two people who have teaching credentials. Homeschool groups are already using it. I know that there are families that are just using it on their own individual basis. Here are the details. Let me tell you what it is that you can get right now, and then I'll tell a little bit of kind of the backstory of why it has taken so long and kind of where we're going from here. When you get Equipped for Life Academy, you're getting 8 core lessons and you're getting 8 bonus lessons. This thing is set up to be a unit. So all of those are set up to be an hour each, which includes videos, discussion, activities. Everything is set up. If you're a teacher, if you're a homeschool parent, all the slides that you might want to use, those are all made for you. And they're made for you in all the things. PowerPoint, Keynote, Google Slides, all the things. But at the same time, if you're in a more of a situation where you need your student to be able to just do this and kind of get through it on their own and kind of plug and play, it is designed to be able to do that too. It's even better learned when you're able to have a student working with at least one other student or their teacher, their parent. You learn better that way. You don't learn best just by listening to expert teachers teach on videos. You learn best by learning information and then putting it into practice, so we have ways that you can do that in a classroom environment. We know that there are going to be pro-choice students having to watch this thing. We wrote it for them too. This was written for a mixed audience. For also for the students who just don't want to talk about this at all. Like, this was written for them too. You know, as I said before, we had Emily Albrecht Geiger now and Andrew Cake helped write this, and they have teaching credentials. They knew how to write curriculum in a way that my brother Tim and I couldn't have done, you know, 10 years ago when we were making the Equipped for Life course. And so we have formative assessments, answer keys, grading rubrics. We have a summative assessment for the end. All those things that you might need for being able to use this in a professional classroom environment. We have a comprehensive source list at the end of this thing. Do you want to fact check us? Good. You should fact check us. You should fact check everyone that you listen to. We have a comprehensive source list, an area for people who want to go and like continue doing more research. We also know that not every classroom situation or schedule is the same, and so we've got a bunch of different suggested lesson groupings. So if you're looking for some guidance on how you could teach the course in your particular context, we already have some help for you there. I can't believe this is done. This has been so frustrating to make. It's been a really frustrating, long, lonely process. There's a sense where God only will know, I think, how hard this was to finish, how many problems came up, how many technical challenges. You know, there were some big themes that came up for sure. It's like, if we had had more funding in the beginning and I could do all this over again, there are things that I would do over. There are things that I would do with better equipment. Coloring this footage was really, really difficult for some kind of complicated technical reasons. But as I was learning about how to do this kind of work, like professionals doing this, they'll talk about how anyone who has a big project or is doing this professionally needs something called a control surface. This is a tool that professional colorists use that basically makes it a lot faster to be able to do, because there's so many things that you can do. But unfortunately, the control surfaces where you can like really quickly do stuff, they're all really expensive. You know, the cheap one has been like $2,000, and I didn't feel like I wanted to spend $2,000 on a control. It didn't feel defendable to me at the time. And then as I was getting really buried in it earlier this year, and there were just, you know, just like literally thousands of clips to process. Thankfully, a new, cheaper version of a control surface came out, and this thing has been gold. This thing has been magic for me. This is not I'm not selling this. I'm not trying to sell you on it. I'm just telling you, the reason you want something like this is because these balls on here and these rings all make massive differences, but you can make really micro differences with your hands. These buttons are all doing things that you have to do all the time. And so basically you learn how to use something like this, and you learn it like a musician. I was literally like using my piano skills and getting to where I could memorize, like, here's the sequence that I need, and being able to kind of use this And I would spend hours and hours and hours and hours in here using this. I was able to get this because this was $500 and came out because they replaced all the metal with like plastic, and they like took away some features that a bunch of people kind of missed and just made it less expensive, but it was good enough. It was exactly what I needed. I can tell you for sure, we would not have gotten this thing launched on time without this. This thing made such a huge difference. I came up with an analogy recently for what it's been like trying to finish Equip for Life Academy, because this has been so long and so frustrating. I'm really into history. I've been getting even more into history lately, and there's certain topics, the Titanic. If you ever want to talk about the Titanic, like in a meeting, if you just happen to get like into that, trust me, we have a lot we can talk about if you want to talk about the Titanic. But this is not like the Titanic. This has been like Apollo 13. This has been a situation where you have a good plan, and then problem after problem after problem after stinking problem comes up. Some of which we just couldn't have predicted because we were doing things for the first time. Like we were increasing production level, in a big way, in multiple ways for the first time, which meant that we were creating problems for ourselves that we didn't really realize at the time. Some of that is just nonsense technical problems. There's hard drives failing or computers not functioning the way they need to. There was a period of time for like 18 hours where I couldn't get the more powerful computer to do what I needed it to do. I finally needed all of its muscle, and it wasn't able to do it. And I ended up having to learn about how to overclock GPUs, which is a really nerdy computer thing that I haven't ever had to learn before. And I learned just enough to start tweaking things and running tests. And basically the way that works is you got to tweak a setting and then restart the computer and then run some tests, and that you can compare it to some baseline tests, and then tweak again and restart and test again. And so it's a slow process, but sometimes it's what you got to do to try to get your computer functioning correctly. I did that process, over a dozen times, and the end result was nothing ended up fixing it. I ended up having to use the slower computer, slower laptop to do the things I need the more powerful PC to do, and that made everything slower. So like Apollo 13, you just have a sequence of problem after problem after problem after problem after problem. And that is what this felt. It's like I'm constantly problem solving and constantly trying to work with our team members, solve these things, and get this thing landed. And we just landed. Like in the analogy, the ship just landed in the ocean. We're there. It's done. Will there be little tweaks and things that get added and fixed later? Like always, of course. But that doesn't matter so much, because the time where I have to devote most of my energy to this, or else it's not going to get done, is over. It's finally in my rearview mirror. I don't have to think about Equip for Life Academy every day. And that's really important, because this taking so long has had a negative impact just naturally on everything else that we do. I haven't been connecting with donors, and so our funding is down naturally. There's projects that I wanted to be further in by this point, but we couldn't because this took longer than we expected. So having this in the rearview mirror, like everything's about to change. All of these visions for what I want, kind of the big new, like what does it look like ERI in its second decade? We hit 10 years this year. We had our 10-year anniversary this year. We are 10 years old as an organization. And it affects the way that, I'm constantly thinking about this, about how can I maximize good for the pro-life movement, for people? How can I help people to connect better with people who are different from them? Civil discourse, it seems, again, like it's just even worse than it even was the last time I publicly said it. We're at a low for the last 40 or 50 years at least. And it's worse now. There's so much that I want to see. I'm thinking about what does a bigger, better funded, more functioning machine look like, where we are just able to be churning out podcasts all the time and short video content all the time on YouTube and TikTok and stuff. Spending more time on alternative language stuff. We've got some cool stuff going on behind the scenes, working with people in other languages. But there's so much more that we could do with that. And now my role for a while is going to be trying to help people to see that vision, to see what could be possible if ERI were fully funded and we weren't constantly dealing with issues of, we can't do these different things right now because we don't have enough staff or we don't have the right equipment. We've relied so much on our knowledge, on our experiences, on the kinds of discussions that we have, and the ability to try to create content in different forms that a lot of people can learn some of the things that our team members have learned going through the fire of, thousands of conversations in the past with pro-choice people. And this course has really gunked up the gears. And this can't happen again. If we ever did a big course or participated in a big thing in the future, we're not doing this again. This situation where I am having to be pulled off of, there's so many articles I've wanted to write and videos I've wanted to make and podcasts that we've wanted to do that we just haven't been able to try to get this thing done. And so we're finally there, and that's amazing. But my brain is just so full of all the things that we need to do in the next year, in the next several years. So two quick final things. Those of you that have been following us and supporting us for a long time, you've heard me talk about wanting to try to influence the pro-life movement into being more effective and wanting to do that from both a top-down and a bottom-up approach. The top-down approach would be like trying to work with pro-life leaders and people with influence and have good partnerships, and when possible, if there are ways that we can try to help them to become even more effective at the important work that they're doing, then we want to do that. And then a bottom-up approach is sort of like we're working with future leaders. We're working with high school students and college students and the next leaders of the pro-life movement so that they can avoid some of the bad habits they would have developed otherwise and be even more effective down the road. And the top-down approach has been more difficult, more slow going for lots of, I think, kind of like naturally human reasons. But we are finally starting to see opportunities to work with politicians on how to talk about this issue better. And it can't come at a better time. There are a lot of politicians that have really been struggling on how to talk about this issue in the last several years, and we just haven't had connections. We haven't worked with politicians, really, in the past. But we got several requests in the last couple of months, and so we've been putting together content and training material we can use in the future to work with political consultants, politicians, either side. Obviously, we're a 501c3. If you are wondering, we have worked a lot with lawyers to make sure that everything we do is very, very 501c3 compliant. Like, we are overly cautious about that. So we're being very, very careful about all that. There are certain things that we could not do because we are not a C4. So it should be very careful, tracking, who's paying for what and what exactly is being said and what isn't. And so we're creating all of that kind of now for the first time. And we have a really cool handout that we created as a part of this that I'm gonna link to in the description below this. But it's a PDF, and you can just feel free to share it with whoever, as many people as you can. If you happen to know politicians or political consultants or people of influence who are trying to figure out how to speak about this issue better, we have some initial tips. And it's written for people who haven't already been trained by us. So some of it's kind of 101, kind of early stuff, but it's still different than, frankly, the way a lot of pro-life organizations teach. So I will link to that PDF in the description, and I'm gonna have a lot more updates about that in the future, because certainly there's a lot of important work that can be done there. And then finally this, it would mean a lot to me if you would celebrate our 10-year anniversary with us. It has been really, really challenging to get to this point. I'm so proud of what we've accomplished in 10 years. I'm so much more excited about what we're going to accomplish in the next 10 years. And we're going to need a funding increase to pull that off. Would you celebrate our 10-year anniversary by, if you are not currently a monthly donor, would you become a $10 a month donor? Would you just donate $10 a month, a couple of cups of coffee, to help us make a bigger difference? If you're currently a monthly donor, would you just be willing to increase it by $10? And write in the memo or send us something that's like celebrating your 10-year anniversary in this way. That would be such a nice emotional boost also. Like, our staff would totally pass that around. Hey, someone else is celebrating with us. It's really meaningful to us, and it would also help us to make a bigger impact in the future. If everybody watching this actually gave $10 a month, it would make a really huge difference in our budget. So that is my request. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience. I'm always struck by how much you care about this, about me, and I've been following this for a long time. And I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you for caring so much, for supporting us so much as we work on and finish the biggest project that we've ever done. And I think the project that's going to make the biggest difference in anything that we've done in the last 10 years. I mean, imagine a world with hundreds and hundreds of religious high schools teaching this content in their schools. That would change so much, I think. Also, if you know religious high school teachers, please connect them with us. Send them to Equip for Life Academy. We'd be happy to talk with them, answer their questions, and let's see how quickly we can spread this out. So go to equipforlifeacademy.com. Get the course. It's awesome. I want you to see it. I want to hear what you think about it. Celebrate with it.